All right, Hira. So we initially started with a goal of you were about to go for a retreat and you wanted to prepare yourself physically and nutrition wise for that. But we ended up working on a lot of other things, like, for example, taking some steps for your gingivitis and the high potassium levels. There were multiple other things we did. So, how has the entire journey of 3 months been for you?
Yeah, you're right. We started with this whole me switching to a plant-based diet because I was going for a retreat, and that was one of the requirements. And I really loved the initial changes that we made to the diet, and then yeah, we started working on various things. The journey, I would say, probably has three components to it, right? One is the diet piece itself, and then the knowledge, the various pieces of information, the knowledge, and
Yeah.
knowing more about the food, knowing more about myself and how I respond to food, etc. And third, of course, the support system that you guys helped me with. So I think the journey comprises of those 3 points. And in terms of the diet, I mean, for a very long time, I never liked dieting. I mean, whenever somebody said, I'm dieting, there was this, oh, are you dieting? Why don't you
Uh,
eat food kind of a thing, right?
right.
But I think getting exposed to something like this, hiring a nutritionist and seeking professional help, um, revealed a lot of things to me about food and its importance and being thoughtful about food. I guess probably at some point in the past we had our culture create a balanced diet, but now because of various influences, various pressures of the life and work, etc., probably that balance is lost, and bringing that balance back was very important for me. So that's where the diet, the plan that you guys provided, and more than the plan, that the insight into the food and what
Yeah.
food will work for me and why was very helpful. So that's where the knowledge and the dieting went together. And then I think this whole myth of me having this point of view that dieting is not something that's desirable got busted because I really liked the food. I mean, the
Right.
freshness of the ingredients and the various components that got changed in my food. In fact, it brought in a lot of fresh food into the meals I was having, and that energized me a lot because I can now relate to when people say there's prana in fresh food, and that's very important to absorb and have, right? It really energizes when I have the salads and the soaked
Yeah.
nuts, etc., etc. So that's the food part of it. So I really enjoyed it. It was very delicious and very nutritious and very energizing. I did not miss any of the tastes that I was
Uh,
used to. I'm sure it's a combination of the food as well as like my own proclivities and my own
correct.
ways
Correct.
of
Yeah.
looking at things, right? So it's a food part. The second is the knowledge and the wisdom. And I think there are a lot of things that people don't know. I mean, I did not know about how food operates and how it affects us, various types of food. I was mainly focusing on the macros like protein,
Hmm.
carbohydrates, and fats. But then
Exactly.
the micronutrients, how fiber impacts our body, and the way body functions with respect to various components of food, and why certain micronutrients are very important in functioning very well. That became the cornerstone of gaining that knowledge. I'm still learning and I'm still figuring out, but I think that was a good starting point for me to get interested in the science behind food. And a lot of times especially in India, the food is so culturally steeped, and so like we take pride in our cuisine, etc. Right?
True. Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't put in the effort to understand why certain things are the way they are. For example, the importance of fermented food, like in the idlis and the dosas, and
Hmm.
how it helps our gut and the bacteria in the gut and keeps us healthy, etc. So I think that added knowledge was very helpful, and that has kick-started me on the path of learning more about how food affects us. So that was the second part. Third part was the support system, and I think that's probably the highlight of this program for me. You, Janani, and working with Roshni and all of you guys was very delightful. The frequency of connects, the checking in and saying the goal-oriented approach, saying, "Hey, what's the goal? What are we working towards?" Also, I saw that though we had set a goal of changing my diet for the retreat, like you were very flexible in saying, okay, you have this problem or something else is coming up, so let's accommodate that and let's take care of that in the process as well. So I think kudos to the team for doing a fabulous job in making me feel comfortable, making me feel like I can come to you with a problem and not just look at some PDF and be done with it, right? So that human touch was the highlight of the program for me. Yeah.
Wonderful. So happy to hear all these pointers, Hira, because I remember seeing your plate. It just makes me so happy because, as you said, we didn't just focus on the macros like carbs, protein, and fat. We made sure we are getting your flax seeds in for the omega-3 fatty acids and a
Yeah.
bit of nutritional yeast to improve your immunity and your B12. Your plate used to look like really balanced. There used to be multiple components. And the way your meal plate progressed from the first time I saw it to right now, there are a lot of changes. And as you said, that energy you're getting from the food, that really makes sense because each of your meal plate used to be that way. And I think that's one really good change you brought in. But how was the transition from? I know you were a meat eater before.
Yeah.
Then what pushed you to adopt a plant-based diet, and how was the transition for you personally?
Yeah. So I would call a reluctant meat eater. I've always been a reluctant meat eater. I never liked eating meat. My family has been a big meat eater for a very long time, since I've been a child, right? So I've grown up around animals and like meat and all that. But I never, like at some deep core level, I didn't like that process.
Hmm.
In fact, there was a point I shifted to vegetarian diet for about 8 years. This was early 2000 to somewhere around 2010. Like for 8 years, I did not eat any meat, though I used to eat eggs. And eggs became a big part of my protein requirement because I did not eat so much meat. Then eggs became a part of my big protein requirement. But it's at some level it always I did not like it. It kind
Hmm.
of disgusted me, and
Didn't
because
feel
I've
right.
seen the raw meat and like the
Yeah.
hens in cages and they smell really bad and they're kept in very poor conditions. I'm not coming from the perspective, oh, animals should not be killed for meat and all that. I
Hmm.
don't have that perspective, but it surely does not feel very healthy and clean and hygienic and all that. And I never liked that part of my diet, and I always wanted to get away from it. So that was one push that always existed in the backdrop, right? Then
Hmm.
the other push was when I attended these meditation retreats where they gave us very sattvic diet, like a lot
Yeah.
of plant-based diet, a lot of raw diet, a lot of fruits, and it just made me feel very energized. I mean, it
Yeah.
felt so fresh, and even after eating the meal, like the taste was so good, the smell was so good, and even the textures and like I developed a taste for it, and it was
Hmm.
very energizing and very refreshing, very fresh. There was this sense of freshness I would get after eating that food. So that was another push for me to switch, right? Though these two, like one that backdrop push and then going to the retreat, made me think about this more seriously. And then for some time I tried doing it on my own, saying, okay, let me just start eating only dals and vegetables and all that, right? Like that's a traditional vegetarian diet we know of. Of course, going to the retreat exposed me to the raw nuts and the salads and all that, and fruits, etc. And the other big change for me has been including fruits in my diet.
Hmm.
Earlier, fruits were like we go to a hotel and they give some apple on the bed,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's probably the only fruit I would get, kind of a thing, right? But otherwise, fruits have become a big part of my diet now. So yeah, those were two big transitions. And in terms of taste, I think I'm lucky that I adapt rather quickly compared. I know a lot of people struggle with adapting to a different and new taste, but I don't know. I don't know if it's internal or something I tell myself, but the transition was smooth and I did not miss
Hmm.
any taste that I was used.
Superb. Yeah. Um, I think one of the things that made it much more easier for you is you knew why you were doing this. It's not
Ah,
like we
yes,
asked you go plant-based and you did that. Definitely that would have made things very difficult. But you
right.
already knew this is the right approach for you and you
Yeah.
were ready to adopt the change. And we just slightly helped you cover your micros and you were good to go. So I
Right.
think that is one point most people are missing out. They just move to a plant-based diet, but they miss out on all the micros, on
Yeah.
all the other small things. But
Correct.
we made sure you're getting all of them. We made sure you're not deficient in all of those nutrients.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one good thing. And what do you think about the people who are trying to move? Like, if you could say a few things to those people, like a few tips or whatever you feel, what would you say to those people?
Oh, that's a tough one because I think
I
everybody's got
know.
their own motivations and everybody's
Yeah.
got their own reasons to do things. But I guess if there were one thing that I would say, like you rightly pointed out, finding that why becomes really important. Why am I doing this, right?
Hmm.
Why am I doing this? What's my motivation? Why, like, what's the reason I'm doing this? So finding that why and personalizing that why, I think, becomes really important. And I think I've also realized getting professional help is really important because we only know so much. There's only so much. I mean, I can probably go read up and become like as knowledgeable as a nutritionist, but that'll take a lot of time for me. And I don't have so much time. I have other things to do. So
Yeah.
but as well seek professional help and do it in a way that is more programmatic, that is more wholesome. I mean, if I'm going to a yoga teacher to learn yoga or a personal trainer to work out in the gym, then why not seek professional help for something as important as food? I feel it's one of the very important things in our life because we become the food, right? Like the food becomes us.
Yeah,
So it's
true.
as important. I mean, I don't think anything can come as close to becoming us as food. Nothing else can come that close. So it's a supremely important aspect of our lives, and yeah, understanding the why and seeking some outside professional help, I would say, are the two things.
True, true. I mean, I think it's more like a teamwork. Like with you and me, it was more like we sat and we figured out the issue. For example, when the potassium levels were high, it was high before you started the program also, but we
Yeah,
went through all of the possibilities. Then you told me about when I probed into the water intake, you told me how it was reduced because of
yeah,
the not being allowed to go to the restroom during the yoga classes. And that
yeah,
unconsciously became a habit and your water intake was less. And then we started working on that, building a habit around that, increasing your water intake. I think
yeah,
that is one of the reasons. I'm not sure if that was the only reason, but like a month later, when you checked your potassium levels, it went
yeah.
down.
It went
And we
down.
also discussed about how the high potassium levels could cause your blood pressure to drop down. Low
Mm-hmm.
blood pressure was something you have been facing for a long time. So I feel like it was not just from my side.
Mm.
It was a lot of inputs from your side, and we both figured out, and then we started
Yeah,
working on the issue. I feel that teamwork was like
yeah,
really
yeah,
helpful. Correct. Yes.
yeah. Totally. I
And
agree with that.
yeah, true. What was some of your favorite recipes? I know you had a cook. She's such an angel. She did everything for you, of course, but there were times when you started cooking meals by yourself. Like you decided dinner I'm going to make, and you tried new things like tempeh and all. I was
Yeah,
really happy to see that.
yeah,
Despite your busy schedule, you took that time and you made that meal. So,
yeah.
what were some of the favorite things that you really liked?
Sure. Um, so some of the things I really liked was including these salads is
Hmm.
something that has become a constant in all my meals. That is something I really like. fresh foods, right? Salads or soaked nuts, or fruits. I mean, these are something I really enjoy. And earlier, I used to kind of look down upon people saying raw food is good. I'm like, no, raw food, like, how can you
Not
eat?
interesting.
Not interesting, yeah. So I would prefer much more cooked food, but now, like, almost 50% of my food is raw food,
Yeah.
which is something I really enjoy, and fruits are something I really have started to enjoy. So this papaya or banana or muskmelon, or recently after you suggested pineapple would help with protein absorption,
Normally,
try
yeah,
to
yeah.
include apple. So all that, I mean, those are. I know you asked me about question about recipes, but I'm talking
No,
more
no,
about
no. Yeah,
non-recipe
yeah.
food. Uh,
Definitely.
yeah, those are the things. I mean, if you ask me what do I enjoy most, I mean, that's
Hmm,
the
hmm.
part I enjoy the most.
Yeah. Now, smoothies are like a regular part of your lunch.
Yeah, correct.
That's like a staple lunch for you with some
Yeah,
nuts and some flaxseed powder, and your
yeah.
lunch is sorted. Yeah,
Uh,
superb. And coming to the lifestyle changes, your lifestyle was like pretty good already when we started, from the yoga to the physical activity. That was quite sorted, and we just introduced a few breathwork techniques, and having early dinners, which was again part of your lifestyle. So lifestyle wise, apart from the diet, what do
mhm.
you think has really helped you in these 3 months?
I think that early finishing meals early has been very helpful, and
Yeah.
like I said, I was doing that early, so earlier on. So I think that worked really well into the program. Uh, so I'm a very active person. I do a lot of yoga and workout and pranayama, etc. But I think eating. So I eat by like finish my last meal by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that helped me a lot, and that is something that I can't think of giving up. I mean, there was one of the days when I went out with some friends, and we didn't have they didn't have any other slot other than meeting late in the evening, and we did meet and have a drink and like ate some snacks, and that made me miserable the next day. And that's like a negative reinforcement why I should not be doing this. So yeah, that does affect a bit of social life. But I nowadays meet people more for breakfast and lunch rather than
Mm.
dinner, and
Yeah.
it seems to work really well for me. And yeah, I think that would be one of the biggest lifestyle changes I've done in the recent past, and has worked really well with this food change. Uh,
True.
and I
Yeah.
think one of the other suggestions that you have given is this energy density of food. That was a very interesting concept, and
Yeah.
Roshni talks about it in one of her videos, right? The energy density of the food, and I think it's a very interesting parameter to play with. If I want more calories, then I go with more energy dense food like
Correct. Yeah.
butter, not butter, but in
No,
nut
nut
butter.
butters. Yeah.
But if I want to probably cut down on weight and have less calories go into my system, then I go with lower energy dense food like more salads, etc. So I think that was an interesting concept to learn and experiment with.
Yeah. I remember during the new year, it was you. That's very, very normal. You had
Yeah,
some foods outside, and then we were using a CGM. We saw
yeah,
the slight spike in your glucose. But one thing that really made me happy was that when you had that late dinner with your friends that night, I know you felt a little bad about it, because whenever you're eating post 6:30 p.m., you had some slight digestive issues.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
you're finishing your meal by 5:36, then you didn't have the issues.
yeah,
So it's not like you completely cut down on going outside.
right.
You strategically planned it, started going out for breakfast and lunch. So then you
Yeah,
didn't have
correct.
problem. So I think diet is more about making it a lifestyle in such a way it works for you and it doesn't affect your goals as well. So that was one thing I learned from you. So yeah, that's a good thing. Great, Hira. So it was wonderful working with you from day one, being a very, very compliant and adherent client. And most importantly, that curiosity you had. Like each call, I know we were discussing about new things in each call rather than just me asking you, did you do this? Did you do that? The conversations never went that way. It was each call was so productive. You used to ask me some questions. I'll go do my homework. Next call, we'll be discussing about that.
Sure.
So it was really wonderful working with you. Would you suggest our program to your friends or family who are
Oh,
looking to
absolutely.
medical
Absolutely.
connection?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my friends referred this program to me. I think it's been
Yeah.
very helpful. So I would absolutely recommend this program to my friends and other people in my network. Totally. I've already done that. I don't know how many
Okay.
of them would want to. I see that at least in India, a lot of people hesitant. I don't know if I want to go to a nutritionist kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think food is such an important part of our lives, and it needs all the attention we can give it.
True, true. I really hope you carry this with you. I'm very sure, I'm very confident you'll carry this, all these lifestyle changes, dietary changes, because you've already made it a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah,
I know from day one you didn't do this like a 3 month thing.
yeah,
I could very clearly see that you were here to change your lifestyle,
yeah,
and I'm really
indeed.
happy I was able to make a small impact in your
Thank you.
lifestyle.
No, appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Janani.
Do stay in touch, Hira.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.